And we're live. This is Dylan with Dylan Talks Tone. How's it going? It's Friday. It's noon, and it's time for our live show that we do every week. This is going to be a fun one because, well, it's been a crazy morning. I already had, I've been on the phone with eBay and PayPal for the last hour and a half trying to sort out whatever. Anyway, it's been nuts. So we're going to talk. We're going to get to Prince's guitar here in a few minutes. We're going to talk about internet trolls. This has really been on my mind this week, and we're going to talk about why. And then the other thing we're going to talk about is one of those trolls had an actually very interesting comment. So we're going to talk about that. Make sure that if you are following us for the first time, you know that we do guitar tech stuff, right? So we got a cool new video coming out on Monday. We had one Monday or Tuesday. We had one come out this Tuesday. Do me a favor, get in the comments, in the chat there, and say hello. Let me know where you're watching from, etc., and chime in on the conversation. Last week we had a really fun, kind of really animated conversation. So it was really, really cool that everybody wanted to be a part of that. So that's what we're doing this week too. I think it's a very good thing. So I want to discuss with you something that I'm very passionate about, and that is this channel. And what we do here is we encourage people to play guitar. That's what we do. And we like to have an environment that invites new guitar players, old guitar players, young guitar players, people that have been doing it for a long time. We do our best to try to make sure that everybody feels welcome. In the comments, in the last couple weeks, there have been some pretty spirited conversation, which is fine. Opinions are fine. Even getting worked up about what you love is fine. But don't call names. Don't call names. If you use the word snowflake, I will delete it. If you demean others, if you use a lot of cussing, here's the thing. YouTube, okay, doesn't want like abusive language being used, bullying, all that sort of stuff. And I won't stand for it either. I am serious as a heart attack right now. I really, really love all the interaction in this stuff. I absolutely love it. And I'm not going to censor opinions and all that kind of stuff. However, if you get angry, if you start swearing at people, if you start talking down to other people, if you can argue all you want, but we are all people here to enjoy playing guitar. And these kinds of conversations that get so angry and so like that are the reason guitar is dying. You are the person. If you do that, you are the person that is killing guitar. You are that person. You're the reason that people don't want to interact and talk about this stuff. And you could say all day long, well, that's just the way of the internet. And I will tell you again, not here. The internet, maybe, but not here. This is my channel. And I'm going to tell you that we want to create an environment for people that they want to be a part of. And if you don't want to be a part of it, then leave. I could care less whether my subscriber count goes down by a couple because of this video right here. I don't care. And I'm very, very, very passionate about this because it's happened a few times, and I don't talk about it very often. I don't like to get on these little rants like this, but it's happened a couple of times this week, and I deleted the stuff. I was like, no, you guys are out. And there were good, frequent commenters that just completely went off the rails. Don't do it. Not on my channel. And here's what I would do is, if you're going to argue with me about this or feel differently about this, go look in the mirror and remember that there is a person on the other side of this camera lens. I know I'm talking to you. There is another person on the other side of that camera lens. And when you're watching a video and you're making a comment, that is a person. That is not the internet. All it does, everybody thinks that what the internet does and what social media does is that it disconnects you from the other person. So then you have the balls to say something that you normally wouldn't say in person. But what it really does, I don't believe that. What it really does is it exposes who you really are. It's like alcohol. You take a couple of too many drinks, and then all of a sudden, you're saying stuff that you really mean, but you wouldn't say otherwise because your inhibitions are gone. And that is what the internet does. And that, it's just exposing what a jerk you are if you're that kind of person. So, I mean, just remember that. Okay, just remember that. And we want to be a part of a positive environment. And if you call me names, I don't care. You have to understand, this is not about me. I don't care what you think. I make these videos because I love them. I like what I like, and that's all there is to it. If you don't like a Kemper, I don't care that you don't like a Kemper. If you don't like the guitars I build or the pickups I make or whatever, I don't care, right? That doesn't affect me. But what does bother me is when it brings down the entire environment of what we're trying to build here for a safe place on the internet for people to come and ask questions and be a part of stuff. That is the thing that I really, really feel strongly about. So, I had to say it. It's just really, 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 really been bothering me this week. That I even have to do that I even have to delete people. Okay, one of the things that one of those angry dudes brought up, what it is well, here, I'm just going to read this to you, okay? He says, this is Jimmy Kennedy experience, and from now on, I'm going to call you out, okay? Just FYI. Ugh, I hate when people explain things, but really they don't. Tension affects pickup winding, in quotes, because I did say that. Half of your title and sums up about 100% of what you learn from watching this video. How does it affect the pickups? We also have ears. Maybe show us by recording so we can hear the difference. This is a nothing video, and you should be ashamed of yourself. You have wasted my time. I appreciate the view, even if you didn't agree with my delivery. I really do appreciate it. And so I told him in subsequent comments that I would address this on our next live show, because this is an interesting one, right? So how does tension affect tone? And why don't I do an A/B test from like a tightly wound pickup to a loosely wound pickup, let's say? What we were talking about in that particular video about pickup wire was how it's made, okay? And the way it's made is it's basically squished. It's taken from something very thick and then taken thinner and thinner and thinner. They put it through rollers and they make it thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner until it's like a 42 gauge wire. The interesting thing about metal is that if you have copper, which is in a pickup, and you stretch it or smash it to make it thinner, the resistance of that said wire goes up. So if you have a piece of wire that's this long, it wouldn't be measurable at this length, but so if you have a wire that's this long and it is 1/4 of an inch thick, it has a certain resistance. If you take that same piece of wire, okay, and you squeeze it, and then because as you squeeze it, it gets longer, right? And then it becomes this long, it has more resistance. It's basically because it gets longer. And, well, it's not because it gets longer. So what I'm getting at is, like a 43 gauge wire has a higher resistance per given length than a 42 gauge wire. You can actually affect the resistance of the wire by pulling on it. So when I wind a pickup, okay, I actually can pull on that wire, and I can literally stretch it. You might not think that you could stretch it without breaking it, but you can actually stretch it. And you can affect the resistance of the pickup. Now, the reason an A/B test doesn't work for that application is because it's such a small, like over the whole course of the pickup, it's possible that you could introduce a different, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, the efficiency of the pickup would be different if you stretched it for the whole time. But that's not usually what happens. What usually happens is somebody who doesn't have a good feel for the wire will stretch it for small periods of time here and there. It's possible that you could feel that or hear that, but most of the time you can't, and you can't measure it really. It's not really a measurable thing, so I can't make it happen. And then he retorted back and said, well, if it doesn't make any difference, then how does it make the difference in the tone of a pickup? Tension in the pickup can make a huge difference. The wire being stretched causes the whole thing to be tighter. And how tight or how baggy the coil is affects tone big time. So you could have or it can. So, because it affects the efficiency of the pickup. So if you stretch it really tight and then you make it like a really solid coil, like a really, really tight coil, without physically stretching the wire, just wind it really tight, it will perform differently than if it's really super baggy. The thing is that even that is not very measurable to the ear a lot of the time, especially if you wax pot it, because a lot of that bagginess just turns into noise, more or less. And so not noise, but, well, it can, I guess, but more feedback than noise. So like if you wax potted a tight pickup versus a baggy pickup, most people would not be able to tell the difference. You could measure it and probably see on a meter a little bit difference in efficiency. But really it's just one of those academic things. Like, guitar players get super academic about this stuff, and the bottom line is I could do it one way and then do it the next way and put it in your guitar and hand it to you. If it was 30 minutes difference, 20 minutes difference, 10 minutes difference, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. So, it does make a difference on paper. Like if you were to look at it with, if you were to look at the math of it all, you can see a difference mathematically, but in real life, in real circumstances, with real noise, with real everything going on, you can't really, if we stretch the wire or we didn't. Now that's to a point. It would, because again, it doesn't realistically happen through the whole pickup. It happens when somebody's doing it by hand, and like I grab it a little bit and I don't, and I grab it a little bit and I don't. And that just comes with experience, being able to wind a pickup without doing that. Most of the time when these people ask these questions, a lot of times they're looking for like an edge, right? Like the guitar industry is so much like, well, if I had this kind of saddles, it's going to sound this much like that, or this kind of wire, or it's going to affect it this little bit and there's no edge to it. There's no, it's not worth arguing about, more or less. The pickup's going to sound like what it's going to sound like. So it's just one of those things. Yeah. I have a comment on the prices of kits for guitar projects in extreme forms such as the Flying V. Yeah, we could talk about that. That's interesting. You didn't miss much, Tim. You can watch the replay. I went on a little bit of a rant because it was on my mind. And then eBay and PayPal got me kind of worked up this morning. I was like, well, I wasn't even going to go live today because I didn't know if I wanted to talk about that. Like, I have such an aversion to negativity when it comes to that stuff that I wasn't even sure if I wanted to talk about all that. And I was like, man, it's on my mind and I don't want it to like taint my show. So I don't even know if I'm even going to go live today. And then I thought, no, I need to just come hang out with you guys, tell you how I really feel about it. And you're going to see that more. I think for the last 3 or 4 years, I've not shared my opinions enough and what I feel should be done, how I feel things should be done, and how I feel what is wrong, what we can do as a community to help improve the guitar industry. You know, I mean, that's my thing. Even that thing we did last week about the quality of guitars and how we can hold a retailer to task. We can say, no, I want that guitar set up before I take it home. And then that in turn makes them hold the maker of the guitar to task to make sure that they get a good guitar out of the box. You know, those are the kinds of things where I can share an opinion and a view and try to, and I know it's not like a technical how does a pickup work video, but I think it makes the world a better place if we can think of a different approach about how when we go into the guitar store and not worry about whether stretching a wire changes the tone or not, and just play and go into the music store and say a thing or do a thing in a positive way. It might feel kind of negative at first, but in a positive way to bring the whole industry up, to bring guitar playing as a whole up. Because I feel like most of the conversations surrounding this stuff brings it down. And I don't like it. I don't like it. And I feel like that's why we don't have 100,000. I've said it before. That's why we don't have tons of subscribers. That's why our channel doesn't really grow that fast. Because I know that I'm not like towing the line of, hey, bro, Led Zeppelin. I'm just not. I won't do it. Yeah, I won't do it. I've been tossing around actually throwing on this channel some of my other personal interests because this whole thing kind of just was a hobby of mine that turned into a living. And now this is all I do. And so playing guitar and actually building guitars and building pickups is what I do. This is my real job. And so when you all support these shows and support the businesses that support the shows and go to Dylan Talks Tone and buy products, even if it's $20, you know what I mean? It helps out a little bit because this is what I do. This is my real job. We don't have, I'm retired, but this is what I do. So yeah, super cool. Your question is it possible to make a cabinet with speakers of different sizes, such as 12? Oh yeah, 12-inch and inch. So I know a lot of people that have done that. A 10 and a 12 is cool. Yeah. Absolutely. Let's talk real quick before we get into FAQ stuff. Keep hitting the FAQ stuff if you please do that. But I want to show you guys this. This is the theme of the show today, obviously. So when we think about somebody owning a shape, right? We think about Gibson most of the time because that's the most it's been, in the news most. However, this whole deal with Prince and the guy that originally built this cloud guitar is a very interesting story. So he built this guitar for Prince based on this other bass that he turned into a guitar and then blah, blah, blah. And of course, it's a very unique shape, right? Like he's not ripping off a Gibson or anything or a Strat. Like this is a very unique shape. We can all agree on that. So he built this guitar for him, and he did not build any for a long time. Then I believe Schecter built some, but they did not sell them to the public. They were like super high-end custom, like really expensive, only for him, I think. And now this guy, I believe in 2018, trademarked the design, okay? And then the Paisley Park estate, Prince's estate, wants to have Schecter build this guitar at $1,750 for sale. And they sent him a cease and desist letter and saying, you can't build this because we're building it and we're Prince's estate. And he's saying, wait a minute. I built this thing in the first place. I've been making replicas of them. I trademarked it in 2018. That may have been a little bit late. He probably should have done it a lot sooner. But let me know in the comments, it is a really interesting one because, I mean, he invented the shape for Prince, right? But the estate more or less is saying, but we own Prince, and that's a Prince thing. I think what's probably going to happen here is everybody's going to talk and everybody's going to get a little money out of every Prince-shaped guitar that's ever made. And I would imagine that this guy is going to make more money than he ever would have made otherwise. So if he says, hey, I tell you what, I'll license the design to you. You guys can build it. Schecter can build it. And I'm just going to take $50 off the top for every one. He's probably going to get rich. The problem is that he wants to build his own replicas. He's getting like $8,000 a piece for these things. And he's got orders for like 30 of them. So really, since Prince died, obviously got a lot more popular. So very, very interesting one. Who owns this shape? Again, this comes back to, and it's the same exact thing that happened with Gibson. It's the same exact thing. And Fender. They waited too long. And legally, he has the trademark. But then you'd have to go back and look and see who built replicas first when and all that kind of stuff. This is a really, really interesting one. Very, I hope he does okay because, I mean, it was his original design. I hope he does okay. I would disagree, Wizard Squirrel, that you cannot own a guitar shape. You can own just about anything. Home Depot, and I say this loosely, Home Depot owns orange. Okay, so that doesn't mean they own that color, but what it does mean is that anything home improvement based, they own that color. So you couldn't open a hardware store and use that color in your brand. Okay, if you opened a hair salon and then use that color in your brand, you'd probably be fine. But you can't cross them over. So in the guitar business, owning a shape is a thing. And actually, this shape is so unique that I understand him wanting to own that shape. And it is possible for him to own that shape. But the problem is that he has to upkeep that trademark over time. So every time somebody challenges him, he has to have a lawyer and they have to say, take him to task on it basically and say, look, I've been making it since then. I have this trademark, blah, 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 which is probably what he's trying to do with Schecter right now. And he has to maintain that, right? So that's how that works. And he can own a shape. Where people saying they can't own a shape comes into play is when it's been so long since that shape has been around. So like, for instance, a Fender Stratocaster, 1954 or whatever, right? And then in the 90s or late 80s, early 90s maybe, was when Fender finally got around to saying, you know what, we should probably trademark this. And I think in 1994, 2000, actually all the way up until the 2000s, courts were saying, no, man, you waited too long. You let it become so generic before you trademarked it that it's now so generic that you can't trademark it. Right? Except for the peg head shape. But for the body shape, that's what happened. So if I come out with a new shape, which I'm working on right now, and a design, I have to proactively trademark that shape and that design immediately, or be in the process of doing it as it comes to market so that everybody knows from the get that this is mine. And then if somebody comes to me and says, we want to copy you, or if I see on the internet that somebody wants to copy me, then I have to call them and say, I can't let that go. And then 15 years later, come back and say, hey, dude, you can't do that. Well, why didn't you challenge me 15 years ago when I started? So if somebody comes to me and wants to copy my design, then I immediately have to go to them and say, hey, dude, I've already got this. This is my design, blah, 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 blah. So here's what you can do. You can either build it and say that I designed it and I get $10 for every $100 that you make, and we're all good. Or I can say, you're not allowed to do it at all. Or I can say, hey, I tell you what, this is my design. I will sell you the whole design and you will own it, but I want a big chunk of change because I know you're going to make a lot of money with it. There's lots of different ways to handle it, but it is a legal process and it is a thing, and it's there for a reason. So yeah, you can own a shape for sure. I mean, square, circle, geometric shapes, stuff like that, probably not so much, but very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. His legal fees will total $240,001. Chris, you're probably right. Chris from Highline Guitars. You're probably right. That's the scary thing, right? Check out Highline Guitars on YouTube. Make sure you do. He builds some really beautiful stuff, and he's got some really neat videos. We quote unquote met in a Facebook group a long time ago, and both got kicked out of that Facebook group because we both are too honest with the world. And I really like this guy. So go check out his YouTube channel, Highline Guitars. But what I like about what he's saying is knowing where he's coming from, because he builds really unique, very cool stuff. And he's a small builder like I am, and just different stuff. But he's a small builder like I am, and we don't have the money to fight this stuff. But when we come up with a cool idea, we have to. Like, how do you do that? How do you fight that stuff, man? Like, I don't know. It's crazy to think about. I've got pickup designs, that we've been doing, and they truly are unique and they work. Our center punch and our 8-ball humbuckers are unbelievably good. And to my knowledge, nobody's doing what we do. But, am I going to go after everybody? No, probably not. I watch your site, Highline. Good deal. He's a cool dude. I'll just tell you a story. I have always been known, if you're new to this channel, I've always been known to be the guy who will be in a Facebook group or somewhere, and when somebody blows some kind of crazy smoke, I will say, wait a minute, technically, this is the truth and this is how it really works. And I was in a group on Facebook, I won't mention it, and got kicked out of it a couple times for saying stuff that was pretty honest. And he was actually the leader, I think. Chris, weren't you like the moderator of that group for a while? And then all of a sudden he did too, and it was like, all right, well. And honestly, that's what inspired me to kind of start these live shows and stuff, because I'm like, well, I guess I have to start my own thing, because I can't say what I want to say. Like, I'm getting too censored because people want to keep things between the lines. Like, a guitar has to be a certain shape, and it has to be made out of a certain wood, and it has to be done a certain way, and it has to use a certain paint. And if you don't like it, then you're doing it wrong because that's not traditional. And you know what I mean? Like, all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, nah, man, I can't even handle that. So that's really what kind of inspired me to do like these live shows and stuff, where we can actually have these conversations and have these opinions and talk out loud, because and you see the genuine smile on my face. I'm not like making fun of anybody. I'm not talking I don't mean to talk negatively about anybody when it comes to that, but something hit me about, and I know we're getting a little informal and just hanging out here, but I know this may not be as informative as you hoped when you got here, but just know that our other videos are really good and you can check them out. And so make sure you subscribe and stuff. So we're going a little off the rails here today, but it's been that kind of week for me. So I'm just going to say it. But one of the things I was thinking about, and I want to talk about this more, and I've been trying to figure out how to put it into structure more, in more of a structure. is I don't understand why people, but guitar players are the worst about this. When you are given a choice, your option or your first instinct is to degrade that choice because what you have is better. Where my brain doesn't work that way. When there's rosewood and maple and ebony and somebody says, "Hey, what about Richlight?" I'm like, "Oh, now I have four choices. This is cool. Now I have something to investigate. Now I have something new to try." Instead of, "That's a new thing. Get it out of my face. I don't want to know about it or hear about it." You know, um, that to me, I don't understand that. When I'm a traditional amp guy, I always have been until I got my first Kemper. This is Kemper number 2. Oh yeah, I sold my Kemper, by the way. Um, and I sold my house. Um, you heard it here first. We haven't told anybody on social media at all. This Kemper is amazing. Anyway, when this came out, I was like, "Oh my gosh!" Actually, it wasn't my idea. It was my wife's idea. She's like, "I don't know why you don't have one of those." She's like, "You need multiple amps to do what you do. You need to be able to test guitars. You need to be able to, and make videos and do all these things. And that thing can do all those things." She's like, "Why don't you do that?" And I'm like, because I had just ended my deal that I had with Fuchs, where I was playing Fuchs amps. And I was like, going from a $5,000 boutique tube amp to this thing. And, I miss those amps and I would love to have them, but it's another choice. It's another thing. It's another thing to enjoy. So when you're presented with a new idea, when you're presented with a new pickup, when you're presented with a new guitar design, with a new guitar shape, with new guitar material, with a new anything, why do we, as guitar players, immediately push it aside and go back to our traditions when we should be saying, "Well, dang, like there's more cool stuff. Like hit it from the adventure time. Like here we are. This is cool. I'm going on an adventure, learning a new piece of software, learning a new piece of hardware, learning a new piece of something, instead of saying, "No, I think I'll, push out my glasses and still ash and, brass saddles and like, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it." It's so funny. Congrats, but I will never move again. Lots of work. Stay tuned, man. Just stay tuned. That's all I'm going to say. This is about to get crazy. Super fun. Let me just say, and all I'm willing to say in public right now about this, because you'll hear more about it later, but for now, what I will tell you as a teaser is what we're doing is allowing us to do things with Dylan Talks Tone and with musicandmascara.com, which is my wife and I's business together, to do things that we cannot do right now. That's all I'm going to say. And so I'm really, really excited about the next chapter of our lives, what we've got going. I'm really, really excited about it. So, I will tell you, inventor, if we're being honest with each other, you are quite confusing. And there's been a lot of times that I've almost deleted your comments because you're just talk crazy. But it's so fun to try to understand, because I know you're from Spain, right? So I don't always understand what you're saying. So that's why I let it go. Yeah, but it does talk crazy. Yeah, this happened with valves and to solid state and later with electronic sim. We were talking about that the other day. I was talking with one of my buddies, and I really believe, and again, this goes back to what we do with guitar players as guitar players and how we spread the love of guitar playing. You got to remember, that, okay, I have an 18-year-old daughter, okay? She was born in 2001. 2000? 2000. Yeah, cuz she'll be 19. Yeah, so 2000. Which means that as she came of age of like being able to mess with technology and stuff, the touchscreen was just being invented. So 2008, 2009, when the first iPhone first came out, which means an 18-year-old kid, which is my target. I want to reach 15 to 18-year-old kids and tell them how cool guitar playing is. And I believe that that should be the goal of everybody on YouTube. That's the way we're going to make it last into the future. But a 15 to 18-year-old kid knows nothing but a touchscreen. His life is a touchscreen. So that's why I say you never discourage somebody from wanting to use GarageBand on their iPad. I feel very, very strongly about all these people that say laptops are killing music and stuff. No, they aren't. No, they aren't. It's another instrument. And understanding how to make it all work together and put guitar into a slot where it can work alongside an iPad or a laptop. Not to mention the songwriting and creative possibilities of having a laptop or a guitar. So, for instance, I have this computer right here. We just did a video on this. If you look on our channel, we have this computer right here. We have this Focusrite right here. We have this microphone right here. Let's not say the Kemper because the Kemper's $1,700, but you know the Focusrite Solo, which is like the miniature version of this one right here, is what, $89, right? And then for $400, you can get a laptop, and boom, so $500, you're recording like legit with good preamps. You're recording, and you can create and document your songwriting process, whether you are, whether or not you are wanting to write songs and become famous, or whether you just want to write songs. I got distracted there because Inventor said he's okay, unsubscribed for insulting. Dude, if you can't take that, then don't let the door hit you on the way out. You know, like I said, I was not being mean with that. I just think that a lot of times guys spend a lot of time in people's comments wanting to stir up negative conversation. That's what they want to do. And if you have a tendency to do that and are easily insulted when people call you out for doing that, then it's okay. I'm not offended. I don't, I'm not offended by that. I don't, I don't feel bad. See, and he's calling names. You are ignorant. I know all chords and scales in music none of you know. Well, folks, this is exactly the type of thing that and then he said, goodbye, assholes. Man, I hate to say that. I hate to see that. I hate to see that. Even if I have a difference with somebody, I would love to have a conversation about it. But I hate to see that when you go straight to name calling. Man, I hate to see that. I really do. I'm not the person to say no. I'll keep using my rotary phone. Strange that guitar stuff keeps to the old stuff. Well, yes, exactly. Nobody has given up air conditioning, and power windows, right? You're not driving a Model A because it doesn't make sense. Now, to have it in your collection, that's a whole nother thing, right? Like, so to have a vintage guitar and be like, oh, this is the coolest thing, and have it in your collection, just like you would a classic car, drive it on the weekends, drive it when it's sunny out, that sort of thing, makes total sense. While enjoying enjoying that. So I just think it's very interesting, enjoying the new stuff that comes out. So yeah, it's really cool. Sorry the show is so weird today, guys, but I was in a really weird mood, and uh, maybe it's time. I was telling my wife the other day that uh, I love guitars. I do. But there's a lot more, like I do a lot more than just that. And I've been trying to figure out how to share some of this other stuff that I'm interested in without diluting the channel, because my whole point for this channel is to encourage people to be creative. That's what it is. And I think it has evolved to that because I do not like being bogged down in the conversations that are so technical, because I don't think it serves the overall good of guitar playing. Um, like I've said, so I've been trying to figure out how to like freshen it up. You know what I mean? So if you have ideas, let me know. I'm a super big time gearhead. Car stuff, motorbike stuff. I've owned over 50 cars, probably over 100 motorcycles have passed through my hands. I'm just a really big time gearhead. I've owned a fraction of the amount of guitars in my life that I have cars and motorcycles, for real. So, just super fun stuff. But thanks for hanging out today. You guys have been awesome. I know it's been a little weird, like I said, but it's just one of those days. Some days you got to have one of those days. And been a little distracted with all this other crap. So I sold the Kemper. I do have a cabinet left I got to sell. I'm keeping this thing. I've decided to keep this. I love it. The Kemper stage has been so great. You're going to see more playing in my videos probably because of that. The video that comes out on Monday starts off with just me playing, man. So super cool. I'm really excited about it. So, yeah, man, I think it's awesome. This thing is really cool. Really digging it. I hope everybody has a good day. And make sure you watch the video on Monday. It's really cool. It's a build. It's a build video. I want to do more build videos. I really do want to do more build videos. I've not seen the Lincoln Brewster Strat. Anytime you talk about Prince, maybe that was it. Maybe we talked about Prince and they just kind of threw everything into some weird spin, and then all of a sudden you don't know, right? Man, you guys have been awesome again. Thanks so much for hanging out. Make sure you watch the video it'll come out, I think, Monday night or Tuesday morning. And that's all I got. We'll see you.